Nobody knows for sure. As I said, the Bank of England blinked, and when things became tough, they're fighting inflation, but then they stepped into the bond market to support it. So who knows? But my view is, I think we are in a situation where an investor has to ask himself, okay, I agree to some extent with Marc. I may think that it's not going to be as bad as he says, but it could be worse and this and that, and that asset prices will go down. So how do I hedge? Now, the only hedging mechanism that I think makes sense is diversification. Mm-hmm. I mean, if I look at today's performances of markets and assets, the asset class that went up is oil and gas, energy. The best performing is the one that was hated the most by the Greens, coal. Yeah. It's a funny thing, when you think about it. They have all the negative things about coal, and it's been performing wonderfully. And there are lots of coal stocks that are up 4 or 5 times in 1 year. Anyway, I think I described briefly how inflation touches different sectors of the economy at different times. So we had the asset inflation 1981 to recently. Now we may have consumer price inflation, which then leads to higher interest rates structurally. Mm-hmm. These are long cycles. They can last 20 years. So let's assume that interest rates go up for a long time, like between 1942 and 1980. Then you can have rising earnings, and you can have an economy that actually moves sideways, and stocks in real terms lose their value. That was the market in the US between 66 and 1982 was essentially flat. It didn't go up, but it was essentially flat. If you include the dividends, you didn't do all that bad because the dividends were relatively high, which is not the case now. But in real terms, inflation adjusted, and that was reflected in the weakness of the US dollar. Stocks went down by 70%, okay? So you take a peak somewhere 2018, 2019, 2020, whenever you want to take the peak, and not every stock peaked out the same day. The last ones to peak out was FANG stocks like Apple. They peaked out in January of this year. Mm-hmm. But most stocks peaked out, the meme stocks, the SPACs and so forth, they peaked out in January, February, March 2020. So they peaked 21. Out in 2021. Right. So in December 2021, many stocks had already peaked much earlier, and you can follow this if you look at the number of new highs in the market and at the advanced decline line and at the number of stocks above the 200-day moving average and so forth and so on. Anyway, to make a long story short, different assets peak out at different times. And my sense is that we are in a period of a lengthy, unattractive environment for assets. Whether you own real estate, the government is going to F you because they're going to increase taxes on real estate or on transactions, or in the socialist states in the US, they'll impose rent controls. Mm-hmm. Rent controls is for the business owner, for the owner of apartment buildings, the worst, because his cost of maintenance go up, but he can't charge more to his tenants.
Right, it caps your earning potential, but your costs are not capped.
Yes, yeah. And the people that run the governments nowadays, they're bloody interventionists. That's the biggest problem. Someone recently wrote about Liz Truss, and she's in good company, the new premier in England. He said the problem is she's not very intelligent, but she thinks she's intelligent. That is a feature of all politicians. They all think they're smart. They all think they should intervene in the economy. I mean, Biden, you look at him, he intervenes continuously and says continuously something about things he has no clue about. I mean, I'm not a fan of Trump, but to be fair to Trump, he reduced regulation. This is the only thing he did. I'm an international person. I'm Swiss. I had and still have my business based in Hong Kong, but I live in Thailand. Now, I want to have some assets in Thailand because I live here. Because I think maybe one day I can't remit money from the US to Thailand, or I can't remit money from Switzerland to Thailand, and so forth and so on. So I have some assets here. Not because I have great confidence in Thailand, but I have to say it's a military government, and I feel much freer under my military government here than under the Swiss democratically elected government in Switzerland.
Before we continue, help us clicking that YouTube like button and subscribe now to our channel. This shows the algorithm that you valued this information. And it helps us spread that message. Sharing is caring. And now, let's continue.
I have bad news for you. If you're not rich by now, you're screwed. And if you're in debt, you're even double screwed. How so, you might wonder? Well, the sad truth is that you're working your whole life to make someone else rich. The mega corporations, the banks, the politicians, everyone is getting richer. They get your money. And what is even worse, they get your time, they get your life. You are not even in a rat race, you're in a financial prison. But what could a solution for you look like? Honestly, I don't know, but I know what a solution for me would look like. It's very simple. I use whatever money I have and I multiply it with 1,000. This could make my life much easier and probably yours as well. If you have $1,000 available and multiply this with 1,000, I believe that this could solve some financial issue for the one or the other. Of course, if you're ugly, you would have to multiply it with much more than 1,000. My name is Marcus Dan, and this is what I decided to do. I decided to 1000x my money. This is not a joke. I know what you may be thinking. What is this guy talking about? How should this work? This is not possible. Well, I made a detailed video where I laid out my plan. And some clever folks might even want to look at this plan and copy it and do exactly what I do. This is just a little hint on the side. You have two options. You leave, you forget what you have seen. You do whatever you're doing and you hope that somehow you get some other results. Good luck with that. Or you click the link below the video. You enter your email address because I'm not showing this to everybody. You at least watch my video on how I plan to 1000x my money. The choice is yours. Make the right choice. Join me. See what a different future you could have. See at least how I intend, how I plan to do the 1000x. So click on the link below, enter your email address, and I see you on the other side. Your Marcus Dan.